Holy crap, Falcons fans. Do we have tons of breaking news for you on today's episode of Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Welcome in. My name is Moose. If you could do me a huge favor, two things. One, stick around until the very end of the episode. You're not going to want to miss anything that I'm talking about in this episode. It is very important stuff. And number two, tap that thumbs up icon for me. Show me that we can get at least 800 loyal Falcons fans to hit that thumbs up button. On today's episode, loaded with topics. Quarterback news. We'll touch on Kirk Cousins, which we briefly mentioned earlier today before Ian Cunningham's press conference. According to one NFL insider, the Falcons are already moving off of Michael Penix Jr. I'll explain what it all means. And then, of course, Ian Cunningham and Kevin Stefanski sounded off at the 2026 NFL Combine. All of this addressed coming up shortly. We got smacked with news, and I'm grateful for it because there was a low point there where I was like, good God, we're not going to have anything coming up until free agency. So let's break it all down in this episode, starting with what we know. Mark Raimondi, first one on it this morning. I'm driving to work. That's a Mario Kart for me, actually. And he comes out and says, Ian Cunningham spoke on the radio. Kirk is going to be released on the first day of the new league year, which is March 11th. First word that comes to my mind, expected. We kind of figured that this would be the case. A lot of Falcons fans were speculating that maybe Kirk could come back, sign a cheaper deal. While anything is possible, I don't think it's likely. So I think you have seen the last of Kirk Cousins in a Falcons uniform, which is okay. Also, we have to consider what the financial part of this also looks like for Kirk as Spotrac comes out and talks about the dead money. They will carry that $24.6 million cap figure into June and then take on the dead cap of $22.5, then going down to about $12.5 in 2027. By the way, some of that is offset by a $10 million roster bonus, which you wouldn't think he would hit because he wouldn't be on the roster. By the way, all of this Falcons news is covered by yours truly. If we get breaking news, if we have any sort of combine stuff, exclusive content from players and coaches and daily Falcons videos, you've got to be the one that joins today by hitting that subscribe button. Here's the juicy part of today's episode. Everybody take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. According to one NFL insider who definitely should be taken with a pinch of salt here, Jason La Canfora. La Canfora says that the Falcons are intent on finding an upgrade over Michael Penix Jr. Now, before we get into what he said in his recent report that came out just 2 days ago, we have to figure out who is La Canfora. And La Canfora is an NFL insider who has covered 20 different Super Bowls and NFL drafts. He is an award-winning print journalist from the Detroit Free Press and the Baltimore Sun, and he is cited as heavily sourced. This is what other people say about him. Heavily sourced and has over 428,000 followers on Twitter. Now, in this report, he indicates that he spoke to a Falcons inside source. Okay? That's not my word. Those are his words. He spoke to a Falcons source that has a funnel into the front office of the Dirty Birds. Here's what he writes. The expectation amongst those with a portal into the team's thinking is that the Falcons won't just be pursuing someone to man the position while Penix recovers, but an attempt to find a superior option to him if possible and prepare for a scenario in which he is not their top choice in 2026. Translation, La Canfora basically says that the Falcons are going to move on from Michael Penix Jr. That's what that indicates to me. And they won't go after a veteran free agent. They're not going to go over a bridge. They're going to go get someone, according to La Canfora, that will take over the position for the foreseeable future. And then remember that anonymous source that he was talking about. Here's the anonymous source talking about Michael Penix Jr. The source writes, it's not just going to be a warm body veteran minimum type guy. I can promise you that, said one source privy to some of Atlanta's internal discussions about the quarterback position during the interviews with candidates from their head coaching search. There are some definite concerns there about Penix taking the next step on several levels. It has been a lot worse there than people really know. Now, that could mean a lot of things. I think that's deliberately left open-ended. But we can sit back and we can look at the statistics. We can look at the output. And I don't think Penix showed enough to be the guaranteed starter for the Dirty Birds. I think he'll be the starter for Atlanta come week 1 if his knee is healthy, but there has been no guarantee. If this report is true, and that's a big if, you've got to take everything with a pinch of salt. If it's true, a new quarterback will most likely be decided for the Falcons at the time of this recording within the next 2 weeks. And I could see it happening. Now, does that mean that they're going to draft a quarterback? Probably not. Does that mean that they're going to go out and sign a quarterback? 50-50. What this most likely signifies to me is that the Falcons are interested in trading, at least right now, in theory, for a quarterback sitting on somebody's bench. So who are some of those new quarterback options that you could go after? Kyler Murray, Tyson Bagent, Mac Jones. I put Tua on this list only because he'll probably end up getting released, and then you could sign him to a veteran minimum or like a 1-year, $6 million backup deal if you wanted, although I don't want Tua anywhere near this team. The one guy on this list, though, that is gaining a lot of traction, according to a lot of people at the Combine themselves, is Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent, currently the backup to Caleb Williams in Chicago, where Ian Cunningham just came from. Apologies, I'm still dealing with this cold thing. So, if we break down Tyson Bagent for just a moment, there are a lot of people that believe his mobility, his mentality, and also the energy and sort of value that he brings to the Chicago Bears is something that can't really be replaced. But Ryan Poles, who Ian Cunningham has a great relationship with, Ryan Poles, the current GM of the Chicago Bears, has already said at today's Combine that he has gotten trade calls on Tyson Bagent. Roll the clip.
Yeah, we anticipated that just because of the environment. Both, I think, if you piece and kind of do an overlay of the draft and free agency, we anticipated someone like Tyson is going to get some, interest. We've gotten a few calls there.
All right, so according to what you just heard from Ryan Poles, the Falcons could be one of those teams that's interested in making calls already about Tyson Bagent. Again, I don't know that for a fact. I'm not sourced on this. All I can give you is what I'm reading. So, if you think the Falcons are going to move on from Michael Penix, give me a yes or give me a no in the comment section down below. I'm entitled to believe right now that it's probably leaning towards no. They will not move off of him. They will not move on from him. But I do believe that adding a quarterback is something the Falcons will do within the next 2 weeks. By free agency day 1, I'll bet you the Falcons have their eye on somebody. And whether or not that's a trade or whether or not that is a signing of some sort, I will pretty much put a bottom dollar on it that it's not going to be some veteran minimum like a Joe Flacco. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about Ian Cunningham and Kevin Stefanski and what they had to say at the Combine. But before we do that, I'm sure you've noticed something. Moose changed shirts earlier today. Yes, I did, because I got my brand new Rag and Bone t-shirt. So let me tell you about what they've got going on over here at Rag and Bone. They've got some unbelievable stuff going on with our friends over here. So let's talk about the new clothes that I've been wearing from our friends over there. If you go to rag-bone.com and use code CHAT, you get 20% off your order. These clothes are insanely comfortable and classy, and I feel like they're super high quality as well. I've already gotten a couple of compliments on the shirt that I'm rocking right now. People now think that Moose has got style. So the clothes are built to last. I got myself the classic flame tee, paired it with their Fit 3 athletic jeans that honestly are so comfortable I forgot I was wearing jeans. And now I've got a nice stylish outfit that I can wear anytime and impress my wife. Infused denim that has made to last quality. Notice the first time you put them on. They feel premium. They look sharp, and you can tell they're meant to be a long-term wardrobe staple. It's time you upgraded your denim with Rag and Bone. For a limited time, our listeners get 20% off their entire order with code CHAT at rag-bone.com. That's 20% off at rag-bone.com with promo code CHAT. When they ask about where you heard about them, please support our show and let them know that Moose from Falcons Today sent you. So Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Stefanski spoke at the Combine today. They talked about the state of the 2026 Atlanta Falcons, and they had a lot of good answers. Now, there were a lot of stuff that they just very stereotypical, like coach speak is the term that you're looking up. But some of the most important talking points that Cunningham talked about was the importance of the tight end role. He talked about adding some wide receivers, and keeping Kaden Elliss is probably the most notable out of all of this. So let's start, of course, with the most important, that being keeping Kaden Elliss. Mark Raimondi came out and said exactly what Cunningham said at the Combine. He said that he was non-committal about keeping Kaden Elliss. Said, some things here and there about how Kaden Elliss is one of those players that you just can't really, put a price tag on. I mean, you can, but you can't. Look, all you need to know is what Ian Cunningham said was the translation is this. We'll offer, but we will have a ceiling on what we offer. Just like anything else. They've got a price tag in mind. Cunningham said, look, we've got something that we feel like we're going to offer him. If he doesn't take it, he's free to explore the free agency market. And you guys kind of know where I stand on Kaden Elliss. I think he's excellent. Last year was one of the best years of his entire career. 107 tackles, 10 for loss, 3.5 sacks, coverage grade of 63, and only a missed tackle percentage of 6.1. The guy doesn't miss. The guy wraps up. He can drop back and pass coverage. He can play at the line. He can do it all. He's your Swiss Army knife on that field. And while Divine Diablo might have been one of the X factors for the Falcons defense, Kaden Elliss was kind of like the anchor that held that defense down. You know how I feel about him. I don't want them to move off of him. I want them to re-sign him immediately. Then Cunningham goes on to talk about tight ends. So flipping over to the offensive side of the ball. He said tight ends give you another weapon in multiple different packages. 12-man personnel positions will continue to grow moving forward. It'll keep the game progressing. We also heard from Kevin Stefanski how much he values the tight end position. That tells me one person. If David Njoku is already leaving Cleveland, he already announced it on his Instagram, you can pretty much guess that he's going to have his eyes on the Atlanta Falcons. That sounds like David Njoku to me. And look, if you've already franchise tag Kyle Pitts, which is great, and you keep him here for another year, your two tight end set is officially built. And David Njoku, the only reason he wouldn't come to Atlanta is so that he could be the number one tight end. But if we all remember that Pitts plays more like a traditional wide receiver, then Njoku technically could still be your tight end one. His numbers have dropped off a little bit. I get it. But I'm not asking David Njoku to go out and give me 900 yards receiving. Can you give me 600 yards? Can you give me 6 touchdowns? If you can do that, add another weapon for whoever's playing quarterback, whether that's MPJ or somebody else, then I think it is a guarantee you need to go out and do it. Finally, Cunningham talked about the wide receiver position. This was actually a question that I loaded up for Mr. Cunningham myself. Receiver is based off of preference and scheme in the draft. So you have to prioritize the feel, and the slot position is unique because it's not a one-size-fits-all. So we talked a little bit about adding wide receiver and how he considers it a premium position, and also that it's carefully crafted because it's not necessarily you pick one player to fit one spot. You want to kind of have a chess piece to move outside if he can, to move in the slot if he can, et cetera, et cetera. So it does sound like to me that Ian Cunningham is gearing up to add a wide receiver in the 2026 NFL draft. I think they do add at least one. Now, whether or not they go out and add one in free agency and they polish out the roster with Drake London, they have Kyle Pitts back. Maybe they decide to move off of Darnell Mooney and package that in a trade. So they sign one more and draft one more, and then boom, you've got 4 wide receivers looking completely different on this roster than you had last year. So I'll ask you one question before I leave. What position should the Falcons target first in the NFL draft? Second round. First pick, I'd go defensive line. That would be my pick. I'd go D-line, and then I'd go wide receiver in like the 3rd or the 4th. But obviously, you let me know down in the comment section down below. That's all I got for you. Sorry, it was a little bit longer today. We've got more and more content obviously coming out, so we're going to have longer videos like this. Expect more clips tomorrow when we hear more from the players at the Combine. As always, rise up and be cool.